What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Sarasota airport. I picked up a passenger in Bradenton, took them to the airport. Look at this person Uber driving, what they just did. So there's a single file line to take off somebody for departures. She drives around the entire line and cuts me off and gets into the parking spot that was supposed to be mine. So since I have a giant pickup truck, I put my pickup truck 2 inches from her car. Now she's looking in her rearview mirror like, here's this giant pickup truck right behind me. How am I going to open the trunk? But the interesting thing is, this is departures. You're just supposed to be dropping somebody off. Well, she doesn't have somebody to drop off. She's picking somebody up at the departure area, and as you know, you drop the person off and you keep it moving. That's how you're supposed to behave at the airport. Well, not only did she cut everybody in line and park herself in departure, but she doesn't have somebody for departure. She's picking somebody up. And on top of all that, there's even more, and that is, she's going to have a complete conversation while she hogs the line. Look at how disrespectful this person is.
I'm gonna have to just take the next flight. I have an idea. Why don't you have your neighbor overnight it to you with the post office? Okay. She's gonna pay like $35, but she can overnight it to you. Okay. That's an idea, because my husband did the same thing with his keys, and we just went to the post office and overnighted it, and you'll have it. All right. You know what I mean? So you're missing your flight. But I don't care what you want to do. I just need to bring you back. See if you can do that. I could call IT and they give me a password. This way you don't have that. Like I said, I can see your thank you for your time. You're here now, so you have an option in IT and her overnighting it. You'll have it. Yeah.
I gotta blur out my passenger's face right here. These are the people that I picked up. Of course, with Uber, you have to protect the privacy of your passengers. I'm not obligated to her passenger or this driver here, but my passengers definitely can't show you their faces. I just thought it was crazy that this person went to the departures. She didn't have a passenger to drop off. She cut everybody in line. Like, this person's just completely oblivious to anybody else. She just cut everybody in line. The line was a good way. It was about a 3-minute line. There's just a lot of people dropping off departures. She just cuts the whole line, gets in front of everybody, and then gets out and talks to somebody. And she's an Uber driver. She's got the Uber driver sticker on her vehicle. Very inconsiderate. And these are the types of people that you meet at the airport, just completely inconsiderate. Then you got other ones that'll drop their passenger off in the third middle lane instead of waiting their line, the turn in line. So at the airport, there's supposed to be some type of order, but people just don't respect it. Now, as an Uber driver, there's a lot of guidelines that you have to follow for every single airport. And she probably violated like 3 or 4 different things that as an Uber driver, you're not supposed to do at the airport. But interestingly enough, that's just the type of people you meet at the airport. And my passengers that were in the back seat, they were angry. They're like, "Yo, what the crap is this? Like, this person literally took your parking spot." But you'll meet people like that Uber driving. And driving in Bradenton is a real crap hole. Now, I took the day to Uber in Bradenton, and every time that I Uber in Bradenton, you just get the crappiest people in Bradenton. I kid you not. So let's get started with our drive around, picking up people in Bradenton, and you'll see the type of clown show it is to Uber in Bradenton. Check out how I have like a hunchback now since I got hurt, guys. I'm still dealing with a lot of back problems. Part of the reason I started Uber driving is because it's something I can do at least from a car, but you can see my body is just completely disformed compared to what it used to be. I have like a hunchback. Put the GoPro on the front of the car. I already got my first pickup. It's only 5 minutes away, so let's get out there. So we're on US 41 heading north. Behind us is the Sarasota airport, and this part of Bradenton is called Bayshore Gardens. Now, just about every single time I go into Bradenton, the Uber drive, you deal with a passenger that is nerve-wracking. People here in Bradenton simply cannot follow rules. Now, I've done maybe 5 or 6 days of Uber driving in Sarasota incident free. Literally, I've done like maybe 30 passengers or something, at least in the Sarasota area, with absolutely no incidents. But on this particular day, the reason I'm Uber driving in Bradenton is because I have a subscriber who tells me they used to live in Bradenton and they miss Bradenton, and every time they see Bradenton videos, they're happy. So for this one subscriber that loves to watch Bradenton videos, I'm like, all right, I'll get out there and I'll get you some more Bradenton videos. Now, this passenger we're going to pick up now is a passenger that I've already had before. This is a person that, like, I dropped them off at work like maybe a few weeks ago, and here we are again dropping off the same person. So it's someone who uses Uber to get to work. Now, it's really not that far from her house. It's a very short ride, but this area is just kind of a dangerous and rundown area, and I totally understand why she doesn't want to walk this stretch of highway. So it's somebody that I've already picked up before, and that's an easy thing. You know, once you've already seen somebody before, you know they're not going to pull anything crazy, and they know you're not creepy, so it usually works out pretty good when you get a repeat passenger. It's not very often you get them, but this is somebody I've already picked up in the past, so we kind of already know each other briefly. Very quiet, easygoing passenger. We picked them up at an apartment complex, and we're going to drop them off at work. I'm not going to be too specific on where I pick them up and where I'm dropping them off. It's just in this little region right here. All right, so I dropped off my first passenger, and right around here, I get pinned for my next one, going to the airport. I was really excited to see this. So this is the people we dropped off at the start of the video. They were the second passenger of the day. This intersection right here is infamous in Bradenton, aka Bradentucky. You're seeing a lot less homelessness. I think the new law is really starting to have an effect. The new law isn't vigilant yet, but just the fact that it's coming, a lot of the homeless people have left. There's still visible homelessness throughout Bradenton. It's not just going to disappear overnight. There's always going to be individuals that no matter what laws exist, they're always going to continue their lifestyle. I think, you know, talking to a lot of the homeless people here in Bradenton and meeting a lot of them, most of them are addicted. Like, even they'll tell you like that, like they're like, dude, don't feel sorry for me. I'm doing this to myself, you know. A lot of them I talk to, and like I've even interviewed homeless people where I've been like, you know, have you considered an apartment? Like, yeah, we can get an apartment. Like, what we spend on whatever we do, you know, over here is enough to pay an apartment. Like, I remember I met one girl, and she told me she was consuming $120 a day, which would be enough to pay an apartment in Lakewood Ranch, which is a high fashion district, you could call it, a nice place to live, as well as a brand new vehicle. So she could be driving a brand new vehicle as well as living in a luxury apartment with a pool and gated security and all that. That's the kind of money she's spending every single month on her addiction. Now, that doesn't mean that the average working person right now is getting paid well here. They just opened up a fresh market in Lakewood Ranch where I live, and I asked the people there, the butcher, I was like, hey, you know, I used to be a seafood butcher. How much are you guys getting paid? Because I'll take a part-time job. Me, I don't care. Like, I make enough money on YouTube for everything we need, but I'm not afraid of making, you know, money. And so I asked him, like, how much do you guys make here? Tells me he's making $15 an hour. That means if he were to work a 10-hour shift, he'd make $150. That there's not exactly a lot of money for a, you know, butcher. You got to take away taxes. I said, bro, you could literally be Uber driving and make more money than that hourly. And, you know, that's after expenses too, by the way. I mean, you're making about between $20 to $28 an hour Uber driving. And, you know, that's what you make up front. Of course, after your gas and maintenance and whatever, you're really making about $14, $15 an hour. But I wouldn't take a fixed job for $14, $15 an hour. It doesn't make any sense because you can Uber drive and make that. I got this high school kid. He bent down to propose to the girl on the sidewalk. She was cracking up. You do see some stuff in Bradenton, you know, driving around every day that just makes you crack up. And that was just a little detail. The kid, you know, got on his knee and tried to propose to the girl walking out of the school bus. That was interesting to watch. It definitely made my day to see that. That was hilarious. But at the end of the day, bro, I was like, bro, you're getting paid $15 an hour and you have to be here every day at a certain time. I'm like, that's not worth it. So, like, I think this whole Uber driving thing, and now my wife took a part-time job too. Like, don't get me wrong, I still make, what I make on YouTube is considerably more than anything y'all ever make with a part-time job. But now that I've been working for, you know, my wife's got a part-time job and I'm doing the Uber, and I'm starting to realize how hard it really is for people on a normal wage in Florida to make a living. Like, you just get used to when you make a lot of money, you don't realize that people really do have to live on less, man. Like, you really forget, or you don't appreciate how good things are when they're good, because when you go out there and, you know, you have an experienced butcher and you go to work as a butcher and they're like, oh, you're only going to make $15 an hour. Like, really? Yo, that's $600 a week before taxes. After taxes, you're talking $500, $480. That's not enough money. That's $800, $1,600. That's just the rent. You can literally work 40 hours a week and it's barely enough for rent. All right, so at this point, we've picked up our second passenger of the day. This is the people we dropped off at the airport where we saw the little incident at the start of the video. Of course, during this time of day, around 3:40, 4 o'clock, traffic is literally unbearable in Bradenton. Notice the clear blue skies, nice, beautiful, sunny day, and traffic is kind of a complication. I'm going to ignore the GPS. I'm actually going to get on 30th Street. 30th Street is one of the streets that I have found is a great way of getting east to west during the daytime in Bradenton, Florida. And another great street to follow is 44th. Those two streets get me through the city with the least amount of traffic. Although, to be honest, this time of day, it is fairly congested driving through Bradenton. One of my Uber passengers recently told me that Sarasota and Bradenton have the highest percentage of pedestrian versus vehicles of anywhere in the country. Now, I haven't been able to verify that. If anybody knows the official links to that information, send it to me, and I would love to go over it. You might even be able to drop the link in the comment section if you know what the link is to that information. But as you can see, jaywalking people absolutely everywhere. Driving through Sarasota and Bradenton, there's a lot of pedestrians, a lot of jaywalking. Simply, a lot of people do not have a car. In the case of Bradenton, Florida, the vast majority of the people that you're picking up are people going to work because they don't have a car. So that's kind of a difference between Sarasota and Bradenton. Sarasota, you're picking up people that are drinking, you're picking up people that are going somewhere, people that are actually, like, you know, their car broke down, or people that are going to the airport, or people that are on vacation going to a resort. But with Bradenton, it's almost always people that live maybe 10 minutes away from work, but they don't have a car. So, you know, 10 minutes walking, so they're paying an Uber because they're afraid of walking. They can literally walk to work, but they prefer not to walk through these neighborhoods. Check out the Cadillac Fleetwood Lowrider. That's what's up. But imagine that. You are working a minimum wage job, but now you're spending $400 a month just for an Uber driver to get you to work. That's like 3/4 of your income are now going to an Uber driver to get you to work. It really is disappointing. Like, the people that I pick up, like, you can literally feel how bad their situation is, like, just driving them to work. And I almost feel like I'm doing like a free voluntary community service by taking these people to work, because at the end of the day, $3 or $4, whatever I get paid for an Uber ride that short, is insignificant to me. Unfortunately, though, there are so many bad people in Bradenton, people that are doing illicit activities, doing things that they're not supposed to, and those people ruin the Uber service for the people who actually depend on it to get to work, or because they have an emergency and need an Uber, you know? And that's the crazy part about this whole Uber thing, is that, like Bradenton, for example, the bad neighborhoods in Bradenton, some parts of West Bradenton, South Bradenton, Palmetto, is always in a $3 to $4 surge. And even though there's a surge, Uber drivers won't go to these neighborhoods because the people there are always doing something illegal. They're always problematic. Like, literally, you'll get a surge almost every single day. You'll get a surge in bad neighborhoods, especially once it gets dark. The Uber drivers don't want to go into these neighborhoods. So now the people that are actually needing the Uber service to get to work are not able to get an Uber driver, or they have to pay a surge, right? They're paying extra money to get to work because the people who are not working are making their lives miserable. And that's the interesting thing that I find about Ubering in a place like Bradenton. In most large cities, there's going to be a neighborhood that it's a poor neighborhood, so there's a lot of 95% of the people that live in the neighborhood is just really hardworking people, and they need a ride to work because they don't have a vehicle. But then Uber drivers are afraid to go in those neighborhoods, so now that neighborhood gets a surge, and the people that are going to work have to pay $4 or $5 more per ride to get picked up. And even then, the Uber drivers still don't want to go to those neighborhoods because of the 5% that doesn't want to go to work. And that 5% that doesn't want to go to work, it could be 30% of the passengers and you do in general. Like, literally, I can literally say that about, I don't know, 25, 30% of the people that I pick up in Bradenton are problematic. They're doing something illegal. They're trying to break the rules. Literally, I don't even Uber drive in Bradenton at all. I'm doing this, again, just for the sake of YouTube, because if it were just for me going to Uber in Bradenton, I wouldn't do it. I would do Lakewood Ranch. I would do Sarasota. I would run down into Venice, but I don't want to do Bradenton. It's because the people here are seriously problematic all the time. Like, I kid you not. On today's video, you're going to see one of the last passengers that I picked up today, how bad it turned out. Like, it's unreal. And you have other passengers who thank you. Like, they thank you. They're like, thank you for doing this. Like, literally, I had one person on this trip. I'm not going to tell you which one it was, but I had one passenger. I think I picked up 4 or 5 people in Bradenton on this day. And it was probably like 2 hours at most, or an hour and a half of Uber driving. I had one person who told me, bro, I cannot tip you. I really can't, because I can't do it. I'm not able to. But I really want to thank you. Like, don't think because I'm not tipping you that I'm not thankful for what you're doing. I wish I could tip you. And I saw, the setting, and I was like, bro, I get it. I understand you're not able to tip me. It's all good. But, like, this person really felt bad that they weren't able to tip me. And I know when I'm picking up people in these neighborhoods that they're not able to tip you. It's not a mystery that somebody wearing a McDonald's hat isn't able to tip you. They're working a minimal salary job trying to pay a $1,500 rent. It's just the math doesn't add up. So I totally understand that they can't tip you. I'm not mad at the fact that a working class person can't tip me. What I'm mad about is the person that doesn't work, picks an Uber, doing something illicit, and that person really makes it harder for the person who's trying to get to work, because now that person trying to get to work has to pay $5 more to Uber because nobody wants to show up in that neighborhood. If you're living in a poor community, you should all be helping each other up. But in these neighborhoods, literally, the other poor people are holding you down. Notice how there's clouds on the left side of the screen, but no clouds on the right. So these are the inland clouds. So in Florida, we got the monsoon season, the rainy season, the summer. And it starts off like that. Far inland, you have clouds. They build up far inland and then they move towards the coast. And that's how we get our rainy season in the summer. So the clouds form overland out towards the Everglades, and then they work their way inland. So we're getting to the point where we can start to see some afternoon showers eventually. But you'll notice that all the cloud buildup is far inland. And eventually those clouds will get big enough later in the summer where they'll work their way this way, and then you'll have your afternoon showers that are famous for Florida. So the last passenger of the day was that passenger. Now, I cannot show you where I picked this person up, and I definitely can't show you where I dropped them off because they were involved in some serious illegal activity, and I don't want to be part of it. But just to relate the story, I picked up this person somewhere off of US 41, what I would call... There's some background noise, guys. They got the washing machine running. But anyways, I pick up this person off of US 41, in a busy shopping center, and I dropped them off at a homeless shelter. Now, this person was clearly making a very large delivery. Now, I'm not stupid. I knew that this was going to be a problematic customer off the go, but for the sake of this YouTube video that you're watching right now, I actually took the ride. I knew this was fire. No ways around it. When I saw the person, I saw where they were, I saw just the setting of what was going on, and I saw that, they put the address right on US 41, but when I arrived, they already knew what vehicle to look out for, and then, so as soon as I arrived, somebody said, oh, I'm actually over here, which was like, I don't know, half a mile away. So I already know what's coming. Now, they're using a female name for the account, but the person that I'm picking up is a male. So that's already a red flag. So we're talking red flag, red flag, red flag. These people are clearly using the Uber driver as a mule to transport something illegal, what I think was a load of possibly meth into a homeless shelter. So let's go over the red flags. First is the fact that you're dropping the person off at a homeless shelter. The fact that they're using a female name even though it's a male passenger. The fact that when I arrived there, they told me, oh, it's actually over here, so they changed the pickup location. red flag. There's 3 red flags already before the passenger got there. 4th red flag when I saw the passenger. Now, no offense to the little homie, but there's something called in Spanish un criminal nato, un delincuente nato, somebody that when you look at them, you can just tell they're with it. I pick up people that they got the face tattoos and they got the jewelry and they're trying to portray their gangster. And then there's the individual that when you look at their face, you know there's just a cold dude no matter what. Like, this dude wasn't portraying to be gangster, but when I looked at his face, I could just kind of know this was definitely the type of dude that was with the craps, if you know what I'm saying. And of course, once he gets into the vehicle, the overwhelming chemical smell let me know that there was some illegal substance in large quantity in the vehicle. Accidentally, he dropped a pipe, which was another thing. When he got in the vehicle, he accidentally dropped the pipes with some aluminum foil or whatever. So that was kind of like, yeah, there's no real hiding what you're doing at this point. But anyways, the homie had a big bag, man. Like, you could really smell whatever was in this bag. Now, I've never been around anything illegal. I just talked to a few friends that might know more than me because they're law enforcement, and they told me that most likely this substance would have been meth. Now, already they were trying to conceal what they're doing from the Uber driver, but unfortunately, bro, you already before I even saw the passenger, there was already like 3 or 4 red flags of what was going on. For one, he had me drop him off at the homeless shelter. He could have had me drop him off on the back street a block away, something. No, straight to the homeless shelter. Pretty much a red flag either way. Now, the homie's a mule, so he's just being used to carry. It's somebody else who pulled the ride, who's orchestrating and pulling the strings in the background. And what's hilarious is that they really think they're slick, by changing the pickup side or whatever little things they did. They really think they're slick. Like, you could totally tell by the amount of times this person messaged me through the Uber ride that they were super concerned about this ride. They were like, is a person there? They're there, they're here, they're there. But like, you could just tell that the person on the other line was super concerned and just kind of, you could feel the tension. Like, and what's hilarious is these people, they think, because they had a story behind it. Like, the person that I'm picking up, the person who made the Uber ride, which goes against Uber policy, so I could have just canceled the ride. Like, they really think they're slick, but the Uber driver is just sitting there shaking their head like, what the crap is this? Like, this isn't worth it. The only reason I took this ride is simply for the sake of making a YouTube video about it. I kid you not. They got a whole backstory explained to me through messages of what they're doing, who the person is, and where they're going. Like, I don't know what Uber passenger wants their driver to know who they are, what they're doing. Te están metiendo un rollo. They're inventing a story. You know what I mean? They're trying to shove something down your throat, make you believe it. But what Uber driver doesn't already see 4 or 5 red flags? I'm like, yep, this is the one you cancel. Of course, I didn't cancel the ride because I really wanted to see how this whole thing went down. Just for entertainment purposes, for you guys on our YouTube channel. And if anybody in the future is a Uber driver, I want you guys to know how this thing works. Like, if you're picking somebody up and it's already X type of location, or you get that vibe and they change the spot, and when you pull up, the dude looks sketchy, just cancel the ride, bro. It's definitely not worth it. And then the person gets in, drops a pipe, you can clearly smell some strong chemical presence. Like, everything about this ride was suspicious. Do these people really? And what's crazy is the person that was actually the mule, the dude was legit. Other than the fact he dropped a pipe, the dude was legitimately really, like, he ran a solid program. Like, he was actually a good mule. The homie had hustle. The homie had game. He had finesse. It was the person that was managing him, orchestrating the run, who was a complete moron. And that's what's hilarious about some of these runs. Usually it's an idiot who's controlling an even stupider idiot, But the homie had game. The homie had finesse, bro. Like, the homie had his program down, Like, he got in and, I could see, he might not have been sober, but he still had that finesse. He still had that game. He's like, hey, bro, I'm going through this. I'm going through that. You know what I'm saying? Blah, blah, blah. Like, the homie had game, had finesse. Like, literally, this homie should have been the one orchestrating the whole thing. But it was weird because, like, the person that was, doing the app thing was actually a complete moron making red flags. If this person just gave this dude the phone and let him work the whole thing, this operation would work a lot smoother. The mule was actually pretty good at the finesse game. You know, it was actually the person managing him who put up all the red flags. So it's almost like they're saying this guy on a freaking crash test dummy mission, where I can see another Uber driver actually calling law enforcement and like putting them on to the fact that a huge delivery just hit this freaking homeless shelter. But anyways, I don't care. The homie, like I said, we start chilling, talking, blah, blah, blah. All that was tight. We drop him off at the homeless shelter. And the homie, like, I was in a nice truck, this and that, blah, blah, blah. The homie was like, dude, you have a better come up than this for me. I was like, bro, I can't link up with you. Like, literally, the person who was orchestrating on the Uber side fumbled it so bad that even the person making the run was like, yo, dude, my bad. Like, I'm just trying to get, you know what I'm saying? Like, he didn't, like, talk about it, but, like, he could tell that I could tell. And that's the other thing. I don't hide it. When somebody's doing something sketchy, like, as soon as he got in, I was like, hey, bro, what time is it, bro? You know what I mean? What's up? I don't let somebody finesse me. If they come with the finesse game, I'm like, hey, bro, I see what's up. I'm just going to drop you off. It's a 3-minute ride. I can see what the deal is, what the lick read, whatever the hell you're doing. I can read right through it. Let's just get you there. Let's not make this let's just get this done. I'm going home. You're along the route. You know what I mean? Like, even the homie doing the drop was subconsciously aware that the person on the Uber app had really fumbled it before he even got a chance to do his show, which was a pretty good one. All right, so after I dropped him off, I went to the Sam's Grill. I'm at the drive-thru right now. Notice how many people are jaywalking at this spot. Again, there are so many pedestrian accidents between Sarasota and Bradenton. A lot of people who are walking, they don't follow the rules. They end up getting hit by cars. It's everyday activity in this metropolitan area. I kid you not. Everywhere you find yourself in Bradenton, you see people jaywalking, standing out in the middle of the road. You have to be really careful. So check this out. We had the girl that I picked up for work, which is a normal person. I picked her up before. We had the ride to the airport. The third ride was a drug drop. That's all it took. 3 Uber drives in Bradenton, and I ended up with somebody clearly on the drop. It's incredible. And I kid you not. If you were to Uber in Bradenton and do 15, 16 rides, if you were to Uber the whole day, you would find at least 3 or 4 people who are clearly involved in some type of illegal activity. And the vast majority of these people, I kid you not, are like 3 brain cell type having people. I mean, first of all, dealing and delivering is absolute grunt work on the streets. And then on top of that, you're acting like you know what you're doing, like you're putting a spin off to it, like you got this whole cover story. But even an Uber driver can see right through the game. There's no game to it. In this case, today's mule was the smartest, most clever mule I have ran into so far, because the vast majority of the time, they're complete morons. Like, they just, even like you would think they're doing something illegal so they would have their game down tight, but they don't, bro. Like, it's so obvious. It's stupid on top of stupid. Now, I guarantee you that in the 300 or 400 passengers that I've picked up for Uber so far, some of those people have had a massive drop on them. I'm talking an entire suitcase full of work. And I didn't suspect a single thing because they had their game down tight. Okay? I guarantee you that among those 300 passengers that I've had, there have been people who were up to absolutely no good. But their game was tight. I didn't suspect it. One time I was with this one dude, and his game was tight. I couldn't tell anything, but I just had this feeling. Like, I saw the bag, and the image of the bag just stuck to my head, and something told me, bro, this dude's got a big drop on him. And it didn't cross my mind at all. The dude just played his cards right, behaved properly, bro. But some of these people that are being used as mules, they're complete more. I mean, you have to be an idiot to be used as a mule. That's a given. Like, no person with like any brain cells is gonna be like, yeah, let me volunteer for something this freaking stupid and risky. So by nature, you're not getting smart people. But I know for a fact that among the 300 or 400 passengers that I've picked up, there have been people who were absolutely doing something massive. Maybe they were just coming back from the airport or something. But those people rose zero suspicion on my part. Now, I've had people who look normal and then, they accidentally drop their bag and you can just hear a bunch of freaking pills and then they get freaking scared because they notice that you noticed or whatever. But here's the simple thing. If you just focus on airports, resorts, people leaving the beach, you're probably not going to run into, mule situations. If you're working freaking Bradenton, unfortunately, I did 3 rides this day, and without a doubt, the last ride, 33% of the day was people using you as a mule. And that right there is why I feel really bad, because I pick up people in Bradenton, bro, and I know they're just trying to get to work. They're good, hardworking people. They deserve somebody to pick them up. But this is why there's a $4 surge in these neighborhoods in Bradenton all day long, even though there isn't really that many people trying to get out of those neighborhoods. It's those people that are doing behavior like that hurt the working class people that are just trying to get to work. And unfortunately, the streets of Bradenton are so active that many of those people don't want to walk to work because they're afraid that if they're a female, they can get harassed. You got a lot of registered offenders. You got people that'll straight up rob you in Bradenton. I mean, it's sketchy as crap on those streets. So it's understandable that the people that live there need these services. And it's unfortunate that all the people engaging in bad behavior ruin it for the ones that actually need to get to work. It's just, they're hurting their own community, basically. And it's sad that as an Uber driver, I have to make the decision, okay, I'm not going to go into Palmetto, not going to go into most parts of Bradenton, because there's people out there that are going to try to use me as a mule. I feel bad for the working class people in these neighborhoods. I really do, but this is why I don't Uber in Bradenton. It's like, literally, I've tried Ubering in Bradenton like 5 or 6 times, and every single time, it's been situations like this, and you're like, dude, this ain't worth it for me. Like, I got a car, I got an apartment, I don't need to be doing this, and I would do it as a part-time, but not if I'm going to be used as a freaking mule. Usually here on the right, there's a bunch of homeless people hanging out, but it's a really hot day, so I think they're not there. Anyways, the streets of Bradenton, Uber driving, I feel really bad for the people in Bradenton who actually need to catch an Uber ride, because there's a lot of people that scare away the drivers with their inappropriate behavior. Check it out, Bradenton, Florida. And here's 44th Street right here. One of the best ways to get east to west if you live in this area, if you're new to the area. Avoid Highway 70, avoid 64, east to west. Use 44th Street. Eventually, they're going to make an extension that's going to go over Interstate 75. That's that construction project you see on the highway. Once that's done, 44th will probably be your go-to road heading east to west in the Bradenton area. Notice that I didn't show the pickup spot or the drop-off spot. I related the story to you guys, but I didn't expose the person at the other end. I don't want to make their problem my problem. I'm just explaining to you guys how these scams work so that if you're an Uber driver, you don't end up in the same predicament. Or if you start to see those red flags, it'll give you some type of idea what's going on. Bradenton, Florida, checking out. 3 rides in Lakewood Ranch, no problems. 4 rides in Sarasota, no problems. 3 rides in Bradenton, and already somebody doing something absolutely crazy doing an Uber ride. That's why Uber drivers don't go to Bradenton, and these are the types of people with their behavior that really ruin the service for everybody else. It makes it uncomfortable for the drivers, and it makes it uncomfortable for the passengers too, because now the driver's on edge even if you're not doing anything wrong. After dropping off the homie at the homeless shelter, I had to roll my windows down, all 4 windows, drink of water, because there was this chemical smell in the vehicle, and the smell actually made me feel pretty nauseous and sick. So I talked to some friends in law enforcement, and they told me that the fent doesn't have a smell, so most likely it could have been CO, which I think is very expensive, but he said some homeless people are actually able to afford that. I have no idea how, because even it's expensive. Most likely it was the meth, and that's probably what this dude was making a run with. And let me tell you, it was some nauseous chemical crap. Like, literally, I had to roll the windows down. I got nauseous. I got sick. Like, I could literally smell and feel whatever was in the bag. It's absolutely crazy that somebody would actually hold a substance that you can, even if it's just crazy. Like, literally, I had to roll my windows down. I got dizzy from it. It was a pretty bad chemical smell. It could have even been precursors to make some type of mix at the homeless shelter, which is crazy, but there have been news stories about people starting meth labs in homeless shelters and blowing them up. I mean, It's been on the news. The other aspect is with picking somebody up and dropping them off at a homeless shelter. People have told me these homeless shelters are absolutely filled with bed bugs. And this dude had several bags that he was taking with him. So if he's staying at a homeless shelter, you can get bed bugs in your freaking vehicle. Like, who wants to risk that? All the way around, it ain't worth it. For $6 or $7 to put yourself in this type of predicament, absolutely not worth it. Definitely not worth it. You got to be thankful you got a job, you got an apartment, you got everything you need, because there's some people out there that are doing some absolutely wild crap, and they may think they're making a few dollars, man, but they just ain't living right. I mean, they might think I don't know what they're thinking, bro. It's a miserable life. Life of crime is a life of misery.